Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing some Dark World test hands. So I'm really excited to do this one because this deck is a really amazing deck that basically revolves around discarding your monsters to the graveyard to get some really amazing effects. I'm really excited to show you off this deck because you get some really cool effects like being able to pop your opponent's cards on their field, special summon out some of your monsters out of the graveyard, and even search the deck just by discarding cards with other card effects to be able to draw things, which is really, really amazing. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name searched in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. And this deck is a really amazing deck. It has some really cool tech cards in it, which you guys might have just seen a couple of those, maybe this guy right here. If you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is always in the description down below for any of the test hands that you guys check out. So let's go ahead and see what we can do and see if we can summon out our main man himself, our Dark Armed Dragon, which is not the main focus. It's just kind of a tech card in the deck. You usually want to summon it on turn 2 going into this deck, but you can sometimes summon it going turn 1. It just kind of depends on what you're going off with, especially if you're going second, because this deck does do better going second because then you can actually summon Dark Armed and Grapha and kind of just OTK your opponent. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a Grapha, of course, a copy of Dark World Dealings, a copy of Grapha, a copy of Drag Down into the Grave, and a copy of Allure of Darkness. Now we're going to use dice counters as well to kind of count for how many cards our opponent discards. So we're going to keep that in mind. We're just going to use probably 1 because you're probably not going to draw more than that anyways. More than 6 per turn ripping out of their hand and letting them draw. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the first hand. So we're going to go ahead, and if we're going first, we're going to go ahead and do a copy of Dark World Dealing. So we're going to draw, and then we're going to discard a copy of Grapha, which is going to help us get something out of our hand. And then what you do after that is you immediately set all the cards that you have in your hand, because you're going to use your copy of Drag Down into the Grave. So Drag Down into the Grave is extremely important, which we're sitting at 1 currently. We're actually going to be at 2 that our opponent's going to get to fix, but now we get to look at our opponent's hand and then pick a random card, and the only card that they can pick is actually the Grapha, which is going to go to the grave, and then we get to draw. So they get to draw a card and we get to draw a card, so our opponent's drawn 2, we've drawn 2 as well. So we're going to go ahead and draw into our 3rd copy of Grapha. What is happening here? So now that we've drawn into our 3rd copy of Grapha, you can actually use your copy of Allure of Darkness, because you're not going to use 2 of them in the graveyard, and we're going to draw into a copy of Dark Arm and a copy of Snow. So I'm going to banish actually the copy of probably, since I've already got 2 Graphas in Grave, I probably will banish the Grapha and save the Dark Armed, because it's going to get me more plays in the future. So at this point, I can go ahead and normal summon the copy of Snow, and then I can bounce back to my field the copy of Grapha and bounce the Snow back to hand, which is going to help me out a lot in the long run of things. You can, if you want to, you can drop the copy of Card Destruction, but it's not going to come in super handy with a hand with a Dark Armed Dragon. Now, if you would have interchanged that and actually banished the copy of Dark Armed, you could have gotten a 3rd Grapha in the graveyard, but usually I like to save it so my opponent doesn't get all that much advantage. Now, setting up with the Grapha going first is pretty good. It doesn't get quite as crazy plays as the Danger variant, but you still get some really good plays, especially if you open up Tour Guide. So we're going to go ahead and pass. We go ahead and pass. Your opponent is going to probably destroy this by battle, and we're going to draw into a copy of Gates. Now, Gates is when it starts getting a little bit crazy. So we're going to go ahead and activate Gates and use Gates effect to be able to discard a fiend, banish a fiend, and then draw a card. So we're going to draw a card, and once we draw that card, that Snow is going to go off, and we're going to go ahead and get to add a copy of a Dark World card from our deck to our hand. So I would probably add maybe another copy of Gates, because it's going to let me dig even deeper into the deck, because it isn't once per turn. So you can actually do something like this, where you can discard or draw, or instead of grabbing the Gate, you can actually grab something like a copy of Beige, which is going to get you a normal summon to your field, and then be able to special summon itself out if you do normal summon it to your side of the field later on. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon this out. If it gets discarded, you can special summon it, which is kind of neat. We're going to go ahead and bounce this to hand, special summon the Grapha to our field, and then we also have the Drag Down that we can give to our opponent, but they're probably going to hit the copy of Dark Armed, which is the only downside to playing Dark Armed in this deck, that you sometimes actually will get the Dark Armed hit, which is a little bit a little bad, actually. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. The Dark Arm is a little bit about the grind game, especially if you get in Tour Guide, and it works well with one of the other tech cards that I'm playing in here, which is actually the Cursed Necrophear, because the Cursed Necrophear can actually interact really interestingly with your copy of Dark Arm, which I'm actually going to show you guys that one really quickly. Let's just say that you have 3 fiends that are banished. Okay, I'm going to give you guys this really quick combo, which is the logic behind playing Dark Armed with Cursed Necrophear. We're going to have both of these in our hand. We're going to have any 3 fiends banished. So the really cool thing about this is you can actually use the Cursed Necrophear if you have like Dark Armed on the field and these 3 are in the graveyard. Like let's say you special summon out Dark Armed to your field. Okay, we're going to special summon this out and we're going to pop 1, 2, and 3 with the Dark Armed. Then you can special summon out Cursed Necrophear and put these 3 back into the deck and then shuffle it, which is going to help you out in the long run of things because it has the ability that it can't be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by targeting 3 of your banished fiend monsters, special summon this card from your hand, and then shuffle those targets into the deck, which is really good to get you 2 2800 beat sticks on the field, especially one that just popped 3 and a copy of Cursed Necrophear, which I think these are 2 really amazing boss monsters in the deck. Just to show you guys a little quick combo that you can actually pull off with those, and it's not even that hard to do because if you open up like double allure gates with both of those, you're able to pull that combo off really easily. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Brow, Snow, Beige, a copy of Dealings, and an Allure. So this is pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and I would probably go ahead for the Dealings, and we're going to go back to 1 on the counter. We're going to go ahead and draw a card, and once we do, we're going to draw into our copy of Grapha. Now, I would actually discard the copy of Snow because the Snow is going to get us a search, which there's our boy right there. We're going to go ahead and search the deck for a copy of Gates, because Gates is going to get us an additional discard from the hand. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck. Once we do, I would go ahead and drop the copy of Gates, and Gates is going to give you the ability to banish a fiend, discard a fiend, which is going to be our copy of our Grapha to get it in the graveyard, and then draw a card, which is Tour Guide. So now that we've drawn the copy of Tour Guide, you can then drop your copy of your Allure to be able to draw 2 more cards off the top of the deck and banish your copy of your Tour Guide. So once you banish that copy of Tour Guide, you can then Gates for a Gates, which is really cool. And then you can use your copy of Gates to, again, discard a card and then banish a fiend. Well, you have to banish the copy of Grapha, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we can get it back if we draw into a Cursed Necrophear. We're going to draw into 2 more cards, which is our copy of another Tour Guide and another copy of Beige, because the copy of Gates will go off and the copy of Beige will go off, giving us 2 draws instead of 1. So now that we have this in the hand, you can normal summon the copy of Tour Guide. The Tour Guide can go off and be able to special summon out from the deck a copy of the Dark Spirit of Malice, and then once you do summon out the copy of Malice, you can then link these away to be able to summon a copy of Wee Witch onto your side of the field and pass with a simple field like that. And you've already got a setup in the graveyard for 3, which is going to be really nice in the long run of things. So we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, and we're going to draw into a copy of Cursed Necrophear, which is where it comes in handy. There we go. We're going to shuffle back these 3 into the deck, and once we do, we're going to get to special summon out that copy of the Cursed Necrophear. The copy of Gates can go off again if you want to, and then you can also normal summon for this particular turn your copy of the second Tour Guide, summon out the copy of your Dark Spirit of Banishment now, and then if you want to overlay them, you can overlay them, or you can hold and be able to use your copy of Snow to be able to discard with your copy of your Gates, banish your copy of Brow, and then be able to draw a card, which we're going to shuffle up the deck really quickly and see what we can actually pull out, which is going to be Trade-In, which is not going to super help us in this situation, but you can also, if you want to draw out, the Snow will actually get you a search before you get that. So you'll get the Snow search afterwards because it has to resolve first. So now we can actually grab the copy of our Grapha, and then the Grapha is actually going to help us out because the copy of the Trade-In will then ditch, and then you can draw 2 more off the top of the deck, which is going to be another Trade-In and a copy of Brow, which is not going to help us out all that much, but you can normal summon out the copy of Brow, or the Beige, either or, and then special summon back your copy of Grapha, which is going to get you another monster, and then if you want to overlay these 2, you can, or you can link summon into some really cool stuff in the deck as well. It's totally up to you what you do at this point. You can go into stuff like your copy of Fortune Tune, or you can go into something like a copy of your Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos by using 3 monsters. Like, for example, if you want to use both of these and your copy of your Grapha, you can link all 3 of these for Soldier of Chaos, which is going to give you a big 3k beat stick that gets all sorts of different cool effects. Or you can just overlay both of these if you want to go that route, to be able to go into Fortune Tune and then swing and you can Zeus your opponent, or you can link into a copy of Access Code by going into a copy of Phoenix to stack it with a copy of your discarding a copy of Beige, which will then revive itself, being able to pop a spell or trap your opponent controls, and then you can link these away for a copy of Access Code. Now you can see the first turn, it doesn't pop off all that crazy, but when you start going into turn 2 and turn 3 is when you really start to pop off, because then you can manage these. This is going to go up by 2, so you're getting a 2 counter on this if you want to, and then you can really start going in for life points. Like you have the copy of your Cursed Necrophore that can do 32 because of gates, your copy of your Grapha that can do 3,000 or 31, and then 3,000, and then 19, and then 43, and then it popped twice as well, which is going to get you even more advantage. And then we draw into a copy of Beige again, which is going to get us even more plays, because then you can normal summon in the Beige next turn if you want to, and then link into more stuff. And you can even use the copy of the Cursed Necrophore and the copy of your Grapha to overlay into something like a Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy, or you can overlay into a copy of, say, number 97 to be able to then detach the materials off of this and be able to special summon out a copy of your number 38 and a copy of number 100, and then you'd overlay this, and then you have a 9,000 beat stick as well. So you start really popping off with this particular build, and you can build this with dangers, and I might do a danger build in the future. Like I've done it in the past, but I really like this pure variant that plays like Cursed Necrophore and stuff like that, because I wanted to do something different besides just playing out a regular version. And one of my patrons by the name Slade actually does play this particular version where you don't play the dangers in it, and I've seen some of the replays that Slade has posted in the Discord that we have, and it's pretty crazy what this deck can actually pull off and what it can do. Like, this deck is super fun to be able to just pop off and get you some really crazy plays. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up again and see what we can pull off for the next hand. And like I showed you guys, that combo with Dark Armed Dragon, if you have 3 Fiends in the graveyard or 3 Darks in the graveyard that are Fiends, you can then really get some plays off by getting your copies of your monsters back into the deck and special summoning out Dark Armed, and then special summoning out Cursed Necrophore to give you 3 pops and 2 2,800 beat sticks, which is really, really good. The only thing that would make it better is if Dark Armed was actually a level 8, because then you can go into a rank 8 play as well with it. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next hand. So we're going to draw into a copy of Lucent, a copy of Dealings, Banishment, Drag Down, and a copy of Trade-In. So this is not bad. This is not bad at all. We're going to get a special summon. We have a copy of the Trade-In that we're going to be able to really pop off with, and we're going to get that counter automatically of 1, because we're going to drop the copy of Dealings. We're going to draw a card, and then both discard a card, which is going to be the copy of Snow. We're going to go ahead and add a copy of the... or actually, yeah, we're going to go ahead and add a copy from deck to hand of Gates, because it's going to get us more plays. And then the copy of the Gates can then activate on your side of the field. This is going to be at 1 right now, by the way. And we're going to use the copy of Gates to be able to discard a Fiend and then special summon back this to the field, and then banish the copy of Snow, and then draw a card, which is going to help us out even more. And then you can set both of these on your side of the field, and if you want to fix your hand, because the drag down is going to rip a card out of your opponent's hand, you can normal summon out that copy of Banishment, and then activate your copy of Drag Down to get the exact card that you want to give your opponent to discard. So we're going to go ahead and move that counter to 2, because we now let our opponent get 2 cards. Now they've had to discard each time, but now we get to look at their hand and rip the exact card that we want out. But they have to hit the copy of the Brow, which will give us 1 for the Drag Down and 1 for the copy of the Brow, which is going to be really nice. So now that we've done that, you can then use your next Dealings, which is going to give your opponent another play, and we're going to get to draw again, which is another copy of Tour Guide. And I'm going to go ahead and discard that into the void, because I'm never going to get the value back out of it. And I'm going to get the value out of the Tour Guide, because the Tour Guide is going to help me out a little bit more in these plays. Now, at this point, you could pass because you never hit Grapha, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you can also link for Wee Witch, which Wee Witch will get you a little bit more advantage in this situation because the Wee Witch is going to be able to make it so all your darks gain 500, and then also you can target a dark in the graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is going to give you exactly 3 darks, so if you top deck a Dark Armed, you're going to get more play. So we're going to go ahead and link these two away. Summon the copy of Wee Witch, because for going first, this deck is not optimal, you want to go second. Now, once we pass to our opponent, let's say they destroy this, and we get to add from our graveyard to our hand the copy of Lucent, which then can special summon itself back, or the copy of Brow, which is going to get us more plays where we're going to get to draw off the copy of our dealing or our gate. So we're going to go ahead and draw, and hopefully draw into a Dark Arm, which is not, it's actually a Snow. So that's okay. We're going to go ahead and normal summon the copy of Tour Guide. Tour Guide's effect is going to go off, and I'm going to go ahead and preemptively summon out a copy of Brow, because the Brow is going to get me more plays because it is a Fiend monster, and it's going to get me more advantage to be able to go into even more plays in this deck. So now we're going to use the copy of Gates on our field to be able to discard the copy of Brow, and then banish from the graveyard our copy of Lucent. And then once we banish the copy of Lucent, we're going to get to draw a card, which is Drag Down, and now we drop the Drag Down, which now we've given our opponent 4 in the total duel, and we've ripped 2 out of their hand. So we're going to go ahead and use the copy of Drag Down. We'll both look at each other's hands, and then both discard a card, which they have to hit the copy of Snow, and then we both draw a card, which is going to be Curse Necrofear, which is going to help us out in the long run of things, because if we get anything that can basically banish something, which is going to be our gates, we're going to be able to special summon it, which is really nice. So we're going to go ahead and grab out of the deck our copy of Grapha, because we have the copy of Trade-In that's going to let us dig, or instead of grabbing the Grapha, you can actually grab another gate and be able to discard something from your hand, like the copy of Curse Necrofear. But I would probably grab the Grapha, because the Grapha is going to give you more advantage, because you can bounce the Brow from hand back to hand. Now, we won't be able to special summon the Curse Necrofear, but it gives us more setup for the next turn. So we're going to go ahead and activate Trade-In, discard here, and then be able to draw 2 off the top of the deck, which is another copy of Grapha and another copy of Brow. Bounce this to hand and be able to special summon the Grapha to our field, which is going to give us more advantage. Now, keep in mind, you have kind of turned off Dark Arm, because currently you do have the Banishment, and you do have the Brow, and you do have the Snow engrave, because you do have 4, but your copy of your Banishment will actually come back if a dark or if a level 8 Fiend monster touches the graveyard, which is a fact I always seem to forget to be able to pop off with when I play this deck outside of playing it on like Wygo Pro, because it's just something that's so easy to forget that it's in your graveyard. It's actually kind of ghostly and you don't see it. So now that you have this field, you have a 3000 beat stick on the field and a 1300 attack point monster on the field. So you have a little bit of advantage that you can attack your opponent with both of these if you want to. You don't have the most optimal field, but you have some really good plays. We're going to go ahead and draw into an Upstart. Use the copy of Upstart. This is next turn. Draw again. Allure. Use the Allure now to be able to draw 2 more, which is another Tour Guide and another copy of Dealings. And you're going to go ahead and banish from your hand the copy of the Brow. Now, at this point, I would normal summon out my copy of the Tour Guide to be able to kind of thin the deck a little bit. Grab your copy of Malice, shuffle the deck up, and then we're going to use our copy of Gates to be able to draw, discard, and banish. So we're going to go ahead and banish. We're going to go ahead and discard, and then we're going to go ahead and draw 1, and then draw 2, which is another Allure. We're going to go ahead and drop the Allure, draw 2 more, which is great, and then we're going to go ahead and banish our copy of our probably beige would be better. And then I'm going to use Dealings to be able to discard the copy of my Graph to the graveyard and then draw a card, which is a Dark Armed finally. And now we have Graph, Brow in the graveyard, which is a little bit unfortunate. And then we also have Brow and Lucent, which the banishment would actually add back to hand when the Graph touches the grave, which is really good. But unfortunately, we have too many darks to pop off with our copy of Dark Armed at this point. We're going to use the Curse Necrofear to shuffle back our copy of both of our Snows and our copy of our brow back into the deck, shuffle the deck up, and then once you do, you have this really, really good board that you can then pop off with. You have this really cool board that you can just go ahead and overlay these two on the field if you want to summon out a copy of Fortune Tune, or summon out a copy of a Link monster, or go into some really neat plays. Like, it's totally up to you what you do at this point, because you're going to summon some really neat stuff depending on what you do. You can summon like a Chaos Dragon Levinair if you want to revive back your copy of your beige, if you want to do that. Now, you can actually still, I think, summon Dark Armed if you do play your cards right. So we're going to play our cards right, and we're going to summon Dark Armed. So here we go. You're going to overlay both of these, and once you do overlay both of these, we're going to overlay into a Levinair the Sea Dragon up here, detach a material. Oh no, you're going to have that in the graveyard, which is going to give you another monster. And then we're going to bring back our copy. You're not going to be able to summon it because you still have 4. So we're going to be able to bring this back, bounce this to hand, and then summon out our copy of Graph from the graveyard. And unfortunately, Tour Guide's there. No, we have 4 still. That's unfortunate, but it's okay. We still have all these really good monsters on board. We didn't get out Dark Arm, but we still have all these really cool cards that we can summon to our field and be able to pop off. The only thing that would make it a little bit better is if we didn't have one of those monsters in the graveyard, and then you get Dark Armed as well, which would be really cool. So I think that's going to be it for this one, guys. As you can see, the deck does pop off, which is really cool. It's a little bit weird to summon Dark Armed in the deck, which you can change it out if you want to for some more draw power in the deck, which is an option for you guys. You can even change it out for Reckless Greed if you want to play that in the deck, which is an option for you guys. I just really like to play the Dark Armed in here for the off chance that I'm going to be able to summon it, which does come up every so often, especially if you have 3 Engrave. Like if you set up Engrave with the copy of Wee Witch and the copy of the other 2 monsters in the grave, it's pretty easy to summon it. It's just in none of the test hands we drew the most optimal play to be able to hit it, and we only drew it in hand twice, and one of the times we had to discard it. So I think that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really, really cool deck to play around with if you want to play pure. You can play a danger variant of it, which you guys want to see a danger variant of it. Definitely comment down below and tell me if you want to see that, because I'm up to do one. It'd be really cool to be able to play a danger variant of Dark World. I'll probably do it after the next list if you guys do want one, because I think that deck could definitely be a rogue deck to be able to play around with. This deck is more like locals and playing like that, but it's really fun to be able to play with. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.